And they did that with Australia and New Zealand.
Yes.
And currently it's Europe. And I'm pretty sure the next wave is going to be America. And a lot of American cities
China,
and states.
I think it has been proved in an organized group just last year, right?
Yes.
I think,
yes, but it's not a huge number yet. But I think America is going to be the next wave of fashionable travel destinations for Chinese.
Like China, America also has huge amounts to offer and varied things as well.
Absolutely. No, I think America is a great country, and for a lot of people going over there, visiting the national parks. Las Vegas is still a very popular destination, and LA is very popular because of Hollywood. But aside from those two, and New York for landmark. But a lot of the national parks are also very popular. For example, the Yosemite, the Hearst Castle, Grand Canyon. These are all very popular destinations for Chinese.
I'm going there in 3 weeks' time, so I cannot wait.
Oh, enjoy. But the same thing, for me, I think around the world, if we are to provide a more high-end service for Chinese travelers, once again, I want to do something more in a niche area. I want to provide things that's a little bit harder for people to access. For example, there's a growing awareness of conservation in China, particularly among the very wealthy Chinese entrepreneurs who've made their first, 200 million or something from their business. They're interested in helping to preserve China the way, not preserve is a bad word, to help with conservation, keep China, the biodiversity or cultural variety the same. But they don't know how. And I think somewhere around the world, there are some very good examples. For example, in the States, in some of the national parks, hunting is part of their conservation effort.
Right. Okay.
And there are some other private and public partnership, like land easement, etc., that bridges development with conservation. And I would be very interested in bringing some wealthy Chinese travelers overseas to see some of these projects and go to the Adirondacks to see how things are done.
Responsible tourism is a growing trend. So are you among the trendsetters? Of course, being a responsible tourist, I think it means a lot more just not throwing litters, right?
I think it's a lot more than that. It's not for us, for Wild China, this is not a fad that we are sort of cashing into the statement of sustainable travel, responsible travel. I think from the very beginning of our business, we've always tried to promote, whichever way you travel, if you travel with Wild China, we leave least amount of traces. And if there's any impact from our travel, we want to have positive impact. The positive impact can be a group of our travelers.
Positive impact, good for generate something good for the community.
Absolutely, absolutely. Back to your the luxury camp in Yushu, we use solar-powered camps.
Right.
We recycle everything that was used there, and also in the different ethnic groups that our travelers went to, we really brought them to see what people's lives were, not in a condescending way of looking at what you do and then I walk away without any impact, but we involve them in servicing the local communities. For example, in Guizhou, which is impossible to pronounce in English, but it's a very poor province in southwest China as well, very ethnic, very beautiful.
Many ethnic minorities live in Guizhou.
And we bring our travelers there, live with the villagers, farm their land, or harvest the crops together, or learn to do crops, or sometimes help them build a local library, help them raise money to buy books or computers or facilities, bring to the village. It's a much more sustained travel project, starting from home. It's not just these 1 week I'm here. I want our travelers' involvement to be a long-lasting involvement. Before they come, they help. After they would return home, they continue to help.
So just kind of goes way beyond, traveling in a narrow sense.
Absolutely. We in a lot of ways, I think while China is attractive to our employees is because of the will to want to do good, and some actions in that direction to do good, that it's appealing to our employees as well. So it's a win-win situation. It's something that helps the locals, helps us, helps the employee.
So, for example, some people have, we're talking about being a responsible tourism, and what's the impact on the local community? For example, some people already complain, like Lijiang. Lijiang has become like a shopping mall. There's so many shops, and the shops are run not by local people, but by people from the hinterland. So, what does that mean for you? Is there any concern? China, tourism industry is developing so fast. What's your concern?
That is a huge concern. I think population pressure is the biggest concern for conservation efforts. However, population means volume. Volume is king in travel business. So those two, in a way, they're conflicting. So you ask me, do you mean if you want to develop tourism, you can't make conservation effort? I think there is a common ground somewhere, because everyone knows if the local attractive features like the cultures and the parks are constantly crowded, then visitors will gradually realize, oh, that's not a place we want to go. And so it's almost like a herd. Travelers are a wildebeest herd. They roll over this area and destroy this area and roll over to another area. I hope Chinese tourism practitioners, participants, business owners as well as travelers will gradually be more aware and conscious of the impact that's inflicted on the local area. Right. And I hope it actually largely is government's participation. I hope the government can help to contain mass tourism in certain areas. Like Lijiang, for example, you mentioned. The current status is very sad. It's a beautiful town. The culture there is absolutely, one of a kind. It's definitely still worth a visit. But the kind of volume, it's got to be contained. There has to be a limit to put. I mean, America's Grand Canyon has millions of people running through it as well. But they've clearly stratified the segment. When I say that, there are certain areas you don't need a permit to get to. Fine.
Now, talking about Yunnan, you're from Yunnan. It's become another word. Yunnan become the land of Shangri-La. So, so if just large volume people flood there every year, how could you how Shangri-La maintain to be Shangri-La? I guess that's
I know. Well, you're talking about the beautiful northwestern Tibetan area in Yunnan province in southwest China as well. It's called Shangri-La because of James Hilton's book.
Yeah, I know. A few years ago, I interviewed this guy called Xuan Ke. He claimed that he was the one who identified James Hilton's classic novel, The Lost Horizon, the Shangri-La, is set in Yunnan. Do you buy his story?
What's
the other things? Speak truthfully.
I think
is he still alive?
Who?
Xuan Ke.
Oh, Xuan Ke. Yeah, I believe so.
Really? He's supposed to be 100, so.
No, he's in his
80s,
70s.
Oh,
70s,
I think he must be well into his 80s. Yeah.
Well, he's a very colorful gentleman. I met him, and I respect him tremendously for the amount of promotion he has done to Lijiang's Naxi culture and promoting the awareness of that area.
He's also a musician himself. Yeah.
Also, right, he drew worldwide attention to the
Shangri-La.
remaining musicians, also Naxi music,
yes,
and Shangri-La. But I have to say, I beg to differ. It's a personal opinion issue. James Hilton's book is fictional.
It's a fiction.
It's fictional,
yes,
right? And so I think there are many, many places in that part of China, India, and southern Tibetan area. That area that shares very similar, and Nepal actually, are very similar in culture and landscape. So it's very hard to say if Shangri-La is exactly located there. But Zhongdian, this town, moved very fast to rename themselves as Shangri-La. I congratulate them. I think it's a good thing, but I don't necessarily think Shankou designation of this is it.
All right,
is necessarily true.
Might be, anyways. The sounds kind of could be.
It could be
possible.
It could be
plausible that Joseph Rock, James Hilton, the author, read the article saying. This Austrian-American explorer wrote about this inland Shangri-La, this area, in the National Geographic magazine, and maybe inspired him. Maybe it's true.
Right.
But anyway,
you know Joseph Rock, the very famous botanist or writer from in the 1920s. He lived in Lijiang for more than 10 years, and one of the stories I'd like to tell was his grand way of traveling, which I think is. In a way, like a wild China style.
Yeah. Yeah.
He created a lot of employment for local Naxi villagers.
People carry his bath or something.
He did. He had a bathtub and a picnic table carried up onto a beautiful Tibetan plateau. So after his hard day of exploring the mountains, collecting samples of plants and documenting and researching, he could sit down, have a picnic lunch with tablecloths and a little bit of wildflowers. It's a very, very enjoyable way of living. And at night he would have
traveling styles probably was a lot more difficult to manage in those days.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I give him a lot of credit for having bridged the gap between that part of the world and the larger world outside, because Naxi language is different, not Naxi being the ethnic group locally there. He brought a lot of awareness to the area.
And I have to say my personal favorite, I've been traveling around China as well, is Tibet. I went there with my ex-husband in 1991, which I had 6 weeks traveling around Tibet, and we trekked. We made our way up to the mountain Everest. I remember the Lonely Planet, that issue of Lonely Planet we carried said the only problem with Tibet is once you've been there, any other part of the world seems boring. And it's kind of course, it's not quite true, because every different place has different things to offer. But I can just see, why Tibet still holds such a fascination. Tibet also now is a very popular place for Chinese, is that right?
It's absolutely. I think a lot of the very educated Chinese college students, they read about Tibet, and Tibet just seems such
another byword for being cool and chic.
Right, it's a mysterious land that is Buddhist. I think Buddhism has a lot of attractions for a lot of young people who are searching for a purpose, searching for some sort of...
To fill their spiritual void, I guess.
Right, and particularly when you go there, you seeing the Tibetans doing a full-body prostration in front of the Jalkang Temple in Lhasa, or the 80-year-old man doing a pilgrimage around Mount Kailash, the one that I went to chased by dogs. It's the spirit the Tibetans exhibited in their daily life is awe-inspiring. It is, and so I think Chinese young Chinese see that too, and nowadays there's a lot more understanding between the Chinese and Tibetan culture. So, yeah, it's very popular.
At least among certain people. Anyway, I think probably we are running out of time. It's just such a pleasure talking to you. Wild China just reminds me of Cat Stevens' song. How does the song go? Oh, baby, baby, it's wild world. It's a wild world out there in China, but also a very enticing one, and can be enjoyed with comfort and luxury. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching.